And welcome back to my editing walkthrough. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm walking through my edit of my podcast, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode number 260 in Vegas Movie Studio 15.0 Platinum. So you get a sense on how I edit multi-audio tracked podcast. This is a video version, which will be posted on YouTube. It is on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, actually Netflix series Punisher. So if you haven't seen the Punisher yet and don't want to be spoiled, you might not want to listen to the rest of this. This is episode 4 of the Punisher. So far, there's only one season out. So if you haven't seen it yet, just warning, you will get spoiled. If you watched the last video, you saw how Vegas Movie Studio hangs up. And I could have let it try to recover. It wasn't going to. And every once in a while, I have those issues. If you go back into my other videos that I posted on YouTube or are available on Twitch still, you'll see that I have not yet had that hang up happen as I'm editing. So I'm not quite sure why it chose this particular time to do it. I will send Vegas Movie Studio. I know I've been saying Magix, but I guess the real title is Vegas Movie Studio. I will send them the copy and say, okay, this is a bug that happened. And what can you do to go about it? Now, I didn't think this was going to save because I did not save it, or I don't remember saving it. But in the last video, I did shorten up this spot right around the bump because I was having some live production issues. So that at least saved. And I'm just going to go on from there. I don't know what has been saved and what not from here on in. But predominantly, we're talking about an audio podcast, so I will be focusing on this track, which is my track. I will be focusing on this track right here, which is Lauren's track. And I will be focusing on this track right here, which is Haley's track. This track down here is a bump or soundboard track that I have for reference. And these tracks down here, there's 3 tracks down here. I use them to reinsert the actual live files, not the live files, but the actual saved files, so that there is no degradation in the audio from the bumps whatsoever. So now that that groundwork is laid, I won't be paying too much attention to the video portion of this, just because I only have one camera, one angle, and it's kind of hard to edit that unless there is a clean break and you can get away with a clean cut. I'm not into the jump cut, so don't expect to see too many jump cuts here. I have done those in the past. I don't like them. I particularly don't like when a jump cut is like every other word. So I edit the audio for those audio jump cuts, which you don't even notice in Audacity later. But in this particular case, I am not doing jump cuts because I don't like it. So it does affect my editing process as I go along. All right. With that groundwork laid, if you have any questions and if you happen to be live here on Twitch, go ahead and put them in the Twitch channel. You can always catch me on Twitter at Stargate Pioneer or email me, stargatepioneer@guineageek.com. And then you can also go ahead and later I will post this on YouTube. If everything goes well, you can always comment down below and I'll get back to you within at least a day. It might be a couple of days because I do have a life outside of this, but I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. And with that, I am going to get on into this edit. All right, ladies, let's get into The Punisher. Now, we're talking about The Punisher episode 4 called Resupply. And as a reminder, all 13 episodes aired on Netflix on November 17th, 2017, which is still less than a year ago. We're doing pretty good. Season 2 is set to air in 2019. It is still 2018, so I think we're still doing good. Haley, who directed this episode?
This episode was directed by Carrie Skoglund. She has 55 directing credits starting in 1994. Those credits include a single episode of La Femme Nikita, Riverworld, the TV movie, an episode of Boardwalk, an episode of The Killing, 2 episodes of Under the Dome, 1 episode of Longmire, 1 of Copper, 1 episode of Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, 2 episodes of Vikings, 3 of Sons of Liberty, 2 of Fear the Walking Dead, 1 of House of Cards, 1 of The Americans, 2 of The Walking Dead, 5 of The Handmaid's Tale, and this episode of The Punisher.
Lauren, who wrote this episode?
This episode was written by Dario.
Okay, a couple of things here. This is where it hung up before, so I'm just going to save the project right here. First of all, you're going to hear Haley clear her throat, basically, and you will see her volume meter over here go up when that happens. So I'm just going to mark right there as the start, and I'm going to take it out. I'm going to delete that part of her track. So there, I could also just take the volume down to nothing. And matter of fact, I'll show you that before I delete that part of the track. And that's another way to handle it as well. But let's find it first.
This episode was written by Dario Scardapane.
It was right there in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark that. I'm going to split it. This is the volume, the gain on this particular part of the track. I can take that down to nothing. So basically it's gone, but I want it really gone. So I'm going to select that part of the track and I'm going to press delete. So it's gone and it will be replaced by silence there in the render. Lauren, who wrote this episode?
This episode was written.
All right. Here's the other reason that it was. I ran into problems because I kept on trying to fastly play this part of it. And again, just out of abundance of caution, I'm going to save this. So here we go. We're going to listen to it.
This episode was written.
Right. Let's go here. Zoom in.
This episode.
Hear that episode click?
This episode.
I don't know why I was pointing the screen. You can't see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, it's right here, by the way, that the click is. I might actually go out.
Episode.
Now that we know that, I am going to zoom to selection by using the right click.
Episode.
All right, it sounds like it's coming from somewhere in here. We're going to zoom to that selection. I'm going to play it. Selection again. I'm not sure where that is. What I wanted to do is I wanted to zoom in really far, and then you'd see a discontinuity in the track when that happens. And actually, it might be right there. I don't think I can zoom in any further. But I can't really fix that with this. In Audacity, you could go in and repair the track. That's one way to take care of it. But I'm not in Audacity, and I don't have that fine ability to edit the waveform. Not here. I can cut, but I can't even get discrete to go into discrete points of it. I guess I could change the format of the track to do hundreds of discrete point per second, but that would just make the render longer here. So I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is I'm going to show you that I am definitely going to turn on the effect afterwards of isotope declick. One run through might not fully take care of that, but it'll take care of it enough for the video. And what I'll do in the algorithm, I'll click on random clicks. This is isotope RX5, and I do have 7. I still need to install that, and it'll probably be a couple weeks now by the time I get around to it and do it. But there's a few things you can do here. I usually do random and I do click. You can also do discontinuity. And if I'm doing this in audio, I do run both of those. And if I happen to hear a thump anywhere while I'm editing, I will take the thump out as well. Is this 100%? No, but it makes it much better. And the more you run it, the more of those it takes out, although it could end up distorting some of your audio. So I would be careful on it. And it takes forever to render. So you have to make sure that you have some time set aside for it to render the audio or the video, and then spot check it before you upload. So this is a little bit of pain. If you're used to audio only editing and you're going into video, you have to realize that the computer technology, even today, and I don't have the top of the line gaming system, but I have a pretty good gaming system. And even this technology today is very akin to the technology back in the middle 2000s when podcasting started, and it took forever to render an audio file. So we're at that point now, 10 years later, with video, HD video, 1080 video, because that's what I'm dealing with here. So just to let you know, it does take some time to render or save if you're unfamiliar with the term render, it basically saves the file in the final format. But what it's doing is it's creating it as it goes on, and it's called a render. So anyway, just wanted to show you that particular audio artifact and how I'm going to try to get rid of it later. I don't remember if I'll remember to talk about that when I get into the audio edit, but if you remember, make sure at this point in the podcast, so it's not going to be at 8 minutes, it's going to be a little less in the audio version, but remember when she says episode there and see if the render and the effect of the D-click has actually worked. All right, here we go. Episode.
This episode was written by Dario Scardapane. I hope I pronounced that right. Who has 10 writing credits starting in 1993, including 1 of Dominion, 6 of The Bridge, 1 of State of Affairs, 2 of The Punisher, and, by the way, is a co-executive producer of the show.
And as a reminder, The Punisher is based on the Marvel comic character created by Jerry Conway, John Romita Sr., and Romita Sr., and Ross Andru. Haley, resupply is the title of the episode. We often relate the title of the episode to the theme of the episode. So explain to us what is with the title.
This one's pretty straightforward. Frank needs guns, so they're going to try to get guns and resupply their supply of guns. But also, Anvil needs
All right.
and
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that out. Her mouth isn't moving all that much, but that's a big
of guns. But also, Anvil needs a new supply of soldiers. So our needs a new supply.
I'd love to take that out, but I can't because she's actually using then to move on with her sentence.
Anvil needs a new supply of soldiers. So our soldier who clearly is struggling with some post-traumatic stress syndrome signs up to join Anvil and get sent back over to Afghanistan, I believe. And he clearly shouldn't. Struggling with some post-traumatic stress syndrome signs up to join Anvil and get sent back over to Afghanistan, I believe. And he to Afghanistan, I believe.
Yep, that's all Haley. I didn't see any of the other gain meters go up, so there I can't take that out. That will be another attempt for the RX D-clicker.
Anvil and get sent back over to Afghanistan, I believe. And he clearly shouldn't be doing that, which we'll discuss later. But that's also a resupply thing that's happening in this episode.
It is, and Frank mentions that all he cares about is resupply. Okay, I'm going to go here and I'm going to try to split the track and delete that out. See how that works. Mentions that all he cares about is resupply, and he is really intent on getting his guns. Definitely. Actually, I wanted to talk a little bit about this. Now, Frank is all about the good guys winning, and usually I would think Frank would be okay with the cops or Department of Homeland Security actually getting the shipment, but he decides he needs the guns more than they do. I'm a little conflicted on this. Why would Frank intervene in a gun shipment that was clearly being intercepted?
I've been thinking about this. Yeah, I've been thinking about this. First of all,
because he needs the guns.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to defer to Haley on this, especially since Lauren restarted herself.
I've been thinking about this. Yeah, I've been thinking about. Yeah, I've been.
Oops.
Yeah, I've been.
Locked that by mistake. I don't know what happened. split it, get rid of it. Once again, just on Lauren's track. We're still going to hear Haley, and then it's going to roll into Lauren being intercepted.
Because he needs the guns.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. First of all, he needs guns. And secondly, I feel like he was betrayed by the system. Therefore, he doesn't trust the system. So while
Also-
he's not going to actively go out of his way to hurt people in the system, he's also the system. So while he's not going to actively go out of his way to hurt people in the system, he's also going to trust himself more than them.
And this in particular is Wolf's old team. So he doesn't know who on that team is on the up and up and who's on the take.
I didn't think about that. That's a good.
Yeah.
Is on the up and up and who's on the take.
I didn't think about that. That's a good. Okay, obviously Lauren has some sort of tick going on. Took that out.
Who on that team is on the up and up and who's on the take.
I didn't think about that. That's a good.
Yeah.
I'll go with that one because yeah, he has no idea. Yeah, Wolf was dirty. Exactly. Okay. Haley for the win. Along the way, though, we have some interesting interactions between. Looks like that is Lauren's track. I was actually looking away from the screen, but I do notice a little bump there. So I'm going to take this part of the track out. Like, okay. Haley for the win. Along the way, though, we have some interesting interactions between Frank and anybody he comes into contact with, including when he goes to get the sweet car that he uses in later, which we'll talk about the car chase later. But as Lauren mentioned in the intro of this show, Frank brings a grenade to a gunfight because he doesn't have any guns. All he does is have a grenade, which I think he knew was a dud, but...
Well, I don't know.
Okay, that might be just a hard breath sound with how much her gain is turned up. He knew was a dud, but...
Well, I don't know. It goes, but the guy in the chair that the people, okay, so they're stealing from bad people. We can all agree on that. They killed a guy, they tortured a guy to death, and they were about to torture another guy, presumably also to death. The guy they were about to torture peed himself. The grenade rolled into the puddle of pee, flared up, and then sputtered out in the puddle of pee. I don't think it was a dud.
You think the pee managed?
I think the pee put it out.
I don't know if grenades managed. You think the pee?
I think the
I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting distracted a little bit by the chat here, which is fine, but it's important. So I've covered this before in a previous stream. What the person is talking about, eldest bro, hey, dude, is the framing of one of the speakers on the show, and that is Haley. Haley chooses a really low frame because she doesn't want too much of her showing up on camera. Now, I don't think this is a great frame for her, and I've mentioned it to her before, but there's been about 3 or 4 comments about it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to tell her about it before we record next time, just to let her know. She probably won't change it, but that's the way it is. All right, here we go.
was a dud.
You think the pee?
I think the pee put it out.
I don't know if grenades are supposed to work that way.
I don't know if grenades work like that, but for the purpose which...
Okay, that I can take out. So whenever there's overspeak like this, you have to determine on whether you're going to allow it, or whether you're going to take it out, especially if you have multiple audio tracks. At least you have the option. And what I'm doing here is I'm creating the solo part of the track. So only the tracks with solo on them will be played. Yep. So I'm going to take that out too, because, okay. And Lauren does eventually interrupt me. So I'm going to allow that, but I took out this right here. Let's see what that sounds like. I don't know if grenades are supposed to work
I don't
that
know
way.
if grenades work like that, but for the purpose of the TV show, I think what we're supposed to take away from that is that it wasn't a grenade, and the guy and everyone else in the room just got really lucky from a puddle of pee.
Aldous just asked in the in the chat, why don't I just do a tighter crop around Haley? Well, yeah, I could, but then I'd have to change the crop every time she talks, because this is one capture from Google Hangouts on Air via YouTube Live. So I have to prioritize everybody else versus her. Otherwise, I'd be going in and out, in and out, in and out. And that's just not going to go. If I had NDI working correctly and if I had enough bandwidth outside of my house, which I do not right now, then I would use switching through XSplit. Even OBS Studio would work, but I don't have that available to me right now. So I let YouTube Live do the automatic switching for me. And because of that, there's no way that I can actually change the crop back and forth between the two.
Really lucky from a puddle of pee. I
Eh,
think that's what that visual language
no need for me to interrupt there. That is gone.
from a puddle of pee. I think that's what that visual language was supposed to say.
Haley, you're kind of the explosives expert in this podcast. Do you concur with that analysis?
I don't think it was an act.
Wow, lots of stuff going on there in the background. Do you concur with that analysis? Okay, obviously something's going on in Lauren's track. Haley, you're kind of the explosives expert in this podcast. Do you concur with that analysis? Is also going on in Haley's track. Haley, you're kind of the explosives expert in this podcast. Do you concur with that analysis?
I don't.
Okay, let's take care of Haley there. Boom. But as you can see, there's even some, well, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's really fine artifacts in there in Lauren's track. So I'm going to keep that going, but I'm going to definitely delete most of this just to make sure.
I don't think it was an actual grenade. Maybe it was like a smoke grenade or something that didn't go off because of the pee. That might be believable. But
I can get rid of that, just because I want to.
that might be believable. But I think it was supposed to show that this dude was scared.
Okay. I'm thinking grenades are... Okay, get rid of me interrupting. And the smaller I. I'm basically mumbling. Final listener doesn't need to listen to all that stuff.
I think it was supposed to show that this dude was scared.
Okay. I'm thinking grenades are pretty much waterproof, at least from rain and pee and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go with
Yeah.
what... I think I can get rid of me stuttering, but I'm going to leave Haley over talking me. Stuff like that. So
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute. Stuff like that. So
Yeah.
okay. I'll go with
Yeah.
what Lauren said for the purposes
Again.
of plot.
Again.
Stuff like that. So
Yeah.
okay. I'll go with
Yeah.
what Lauren said for the purposes
Again.
of plot.
Again, there's so much.
Okay, deleted that out. This is what it sounds like now. Okay. I'll go with
Yeah.
what Lauren said for the purposes of plot.
Again, there's so much that these shows get wrong about biology and physics and stuff like that. So I think I know what they were trying to go for in the visual language of the show. But I don't think it works like that.
No, and I would imagine that somebody doing a Punisher show, like the showrunners and the special effects people, would know that the Punisher would know weapons. So I don't, Listener, if you have another idea that we're not actually... Okay, take out that little overtalk. Listener, if you have another idea that we're not actually grasping at the moment, Michelle, if you happen to be listening to this later and you have an idea, please let us know, because
Agreed. But okay, so
okay, I remember this part. Please let us know, because
agreed.
She's just going to interrupt me there. In the audio version, I might actually cross that over, but not now. No, because...
agreed. But okay, so I, for another project, was looking...
going to get rid of that huge Might look weird on camera, but I'm just going to get rid of it. It's either now or later.
But okay, so I, for another project, was looking up things on costumers for like historical costumes.
I just laughing because the cat in the background. Oh.
I, for another project, was looking up things on costumers for like historical costumers for people who do historical movies. And these are people who know what they're doing. These are, for the most part, people who do a lot of research and have lots of books and things. And then you look at something like Braveheart, where they are wearing entirely the wrong period appropriate costumes. And these are people who know.
Oops. Moved it right there. A little Control Z took care of that action. Oh, crap. Went back. I got to find the spot again.
I, for another project, was looking up things on costumers for like historical costumers for people who do historical movies. And these are people who know what they're doing. These are, for the most part, people who do a lot of research and have lots of books and things. And then you look at something like Braveheart, where they are wearing entirely the wrong period appropriate.
Yeah, there we go.
The wrong period appropriate costumes. And these are people who know their business. So why would they do that? And the estimation that people give is that, well, the director, the star, whoever can go over your head and be like, well, I want it this way. So maybe it could be something in that sort of situation where somebody goes up to the fight team, the special effects team, whatever, says, no, we want it to be this way because we want it to say a thing. And they kind of have no choice but to be like, okay, you pay my checks, but I have my reservations, but you pay my checks. But then again,
take care of that right there. A little breath sound tick.
My checks. But then again, who knows? It could be a dud. It could be some other kind of grenade. It could, I don't know.
I mean, he could have tapped in.
It was just the shell and it had like fireworks inside. I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking he tapped into it and like got all the explosives out, like the gunpowder out or whatever's in the inside of grenades. I actually am not up to date on what's inside grenades these days. And maybe he knew it was going to be, that's what I thought, because Frank doesn't usually misdeal weapons, although it happens, I guess. So maybe just got lucky. So,
because again, Frank, not stable, but
although it happens, I guess. So maybe just got lucky.
Because again, Frank, not stable, but a decent guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like he knew he wasn't going to kill. Like if he was going in the middle, that's a good question. Did he know that those guys were being tortured? I don't think he knew when he was preparing to go get the cars. I don't think he knew that those guys were being tortured to death.
I don't know.
It was secondary.
But then again, he also didn't let him go, so I don't think they were probably good.
See what that sounds like. Those guys were being tortured to death.
I think it was secondary.
But then again, he also didn't let him go, so I don't think they were probably good guys either. So I'm not sure if Frank really cared what happened to him, because again, he didn't let the guy go.
Yeah, good people don't typically have a lot of legitimate business dealings.
Yeah, I think it could take me out of the equation right there.
He didn't let the guy go.
Yeah, good people don't typically have a lot of legitimate.
And take Lauren out of the equation.
I go.
Yeah, good people don't typically have a lot of legitimate business dealings with arms dealers and such.
Well, also, you're talking about cars, which might explode, at least on TV, if you rupture a gas tank or something like that, like a grenade goes off underneath a car. So
cars explode on TV if you look at them funny.
Lauren looks at cars funny. Like a grenade goes off underneath a car. If you rupture a gas tank or something like that, like a grenade goes off underneath a car.
Cars explode on TV if you look at them funny.
Yeah, they do. So maybe he was preparing against that. I don't know. Let's move on from that. Okay. I'm going to mark this spot because I am going to trim the soundboard because I don't need anything to the left on that. And I am going to save this project. And that's it for tonight. I'm just getting kind of late, getting kind of tired, and I will finish this, I guess, tomorrow. So thank you very much for checking this out. And you can always catch me at Stargate Pioneer on Twitter. Stargate Pioneer at gonnageek.com is my email. And then if you happen to want to get into SP's walkthroughs and edits, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks, guys. Catch you next time. And thank you to Eldis for showing up in the live chat on Twitch. Thanks. Bye.